Hi, Julie, and congratulations to you. What a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk to you this evening. You are one of a very small number of female CEOs. How did you get here, and how did your company become well known as a place where people can bring their whole selves?
Well, thank you, Soledad, and thanks for being here. First of all, I just want to say thank you to NPower. I'm really honored to be recognized tonight and really to have Accenture recognized, because that's how I think about this. And I just want to just say it's so meaningful to me, and thank you for having Sean introduce me. I was a little emotional after, I've known Sean more than just the last 13 months. I've been on the leadership team, and he is such an incredible leader. And to you all don't know, but like our entire C-suite relies on Sean, and Sean, I've had many calls to himself, but his presence and his leadership matters so much. And he's just such a great example of what NPower is and the incredibly talented people that come from NPower. And for all of you watching tonight, I just hope that you walk away from tonight. And I know many of you are like Matt and David, and you have NPower apprentices and interns. But I hope you come away tonight with just a conviction to, double it, because we just have so many incredible people from NPower at Accenture, and Sean is just one example of just true talent. So thank you. In terms of my own story, Soledad, it's interesting. Accenture, in many ways, has been my own opportunity. It's a great example of my story because I came from outside of Accenture. I'm actually the first CEO that didn't come out of college and go straight to Accenture. I was recruited 10 years ago, and I came as the general counsel. And when you think about what does it mean to promote on potential, like we talk about that, what does it mean to allow people to bring their own selves to work? I think of my own career because I came, as an experienced hire, that's what we call everybody from outside, and was a general counsel. And yet today I'm the CEO, and it is about a company that believes in talent and people and unlocking your potential. And if you, as a company, believe in unlocking people's potential, then a lot of the barriers that come with, what we think about as whether it's ethnicity or gender or sexual orientation can kind of go away, and you can create a true culture of equality. And so I think of my own path that is Accenture is really symbolic, of what it means when you say, I'm going to advance on potential. I'm going to look beyond things to see, who you are. And that's what we strive to do. And it's not about ignoring differences. It's about celebrating them, but focusing on what people can bring to the table. What is their unique commitment? And as you heard in the video, this is both who we are, but I will tell you that our success has been dependent on our belief in inclusion and diversity. And in 2014, when we became the first company to create a digital unit, when we saw that every business would be a digital business, we doubled down on diversity because we knew to be innovative, innovation led, we had to be more diverse. And I think our success is inseparable from that commitment and that strategy.
Tonight's theme is rewire, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about why rewiring is so important outside, of course, that we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so everybody's rethinking everything at the moment. Talk to me about very specific actions that organizations can take when they're thinking about diversifying and really making actual tangible change.
So let me take two examples. So if you think about what we're doing at NPower and hiring apprenticeships, and I look back at back in 2015, when I became CEO of North America, we had about 8 apprentices in Chicago and 30 of total, some NPower, some others, and 30 in Texas. And I really believed that we needed to have more apprenticeships, that we needed to invest in talent. It would help us to be more diverse, by the way, as many of our apprentices are. But it also was like we were saying we needed to invest in skills in under-resourced communities, but I felt like at Accenture we needed to do more. But here's the thing: I didn't want it to be my passion. We had to rewire how we did talent, right? How did we do our talent in order to make apprenticeships be a part of our talent strategy? So today, fast forward, we have 700 apprentices across Accenture, some of whom are NPower, and we also use other great organizations across the country. But it required us to rethink, so not make this about corporate citizenship, not make it somebody's passion so it wouldn't last, but to actually redo our talent strategy. And that's the same is true also as you think about inclusion and diversity more broadly, is it has to be embedded in what you do, in the way, as Matt was saying earlier, the way you recruit, the way you train, and have it not be a passion or a sideshow, but to be at the core and embedded in your business.
Talk to me about how you, as a leader, think about some of the very dramatic and impactful events that are unfolding in front of us at this moment. So clearly, COVID-19, we're looking at an economy that is struggling at this moment, massive job loss, and of course, a lot of social unrest after the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, which meant uprising in various, actually, I think every single state in the nation had some kind of social unrest. How have you thought about how to navigate all of these changes that are actually happening simultaneously?
Soledad, I think the most important thing that we can do right now is to see the opportunity that's been created, because so much bad has happened, right? The humans, the lives that are lost, the economies that have been destroyed, the jobs that have been destroyed. But just back in January, we made a big announcement because we were putting in a new growth model. And I talked about we were going to have a decade of transformation driven by technology. That's now shrunk to 5 years, and we are literally rebuilding economies and companies and industries. We're moving much, much faster. And so the question is, will we use this opportunity to rebuild? It's going to happen much faster, to make it for the benefit of all. Right. So you think about cloud and what we've done with AWS. Right now, we're talking to every company about accelerating their journey to cloud. On average, companies are doing it twice as fast as they thought. And every company, I say, you need to have cloud competencies inside. You should not be relying on Accenture or the cloud providers over the longer term. We'll always be your partner, but you have to have it. So if every company is having to accelerate, they're having the discussion around talent. And so if every one of these companies says, and let's make some of that talent from companies, organizations like NPower, build it into that talent strategy, that's how each of us can walk away and say, let's make this crisis an opportunity, because the amount of talent transformation that has to happen at much greater speed is different than it was 7 months ago. And so it is a huge opportunity to actually accelerate change for the positive, but it has to be very deliberate, and we have to do it together. If each of us is trying to create programs, right, we'll never be successful. And that is why when you look at NPower, just think about it. It's competitors coming together: Accenture, Deloitte, Google, AWS, JPMC, Citi, Bank of America. It's all of us saying, we are going to come together for the benefit of all and do something at scale. And that is such a unique opportunity, and the great thing about NPower.
Let's talk about women for a moment. This year, of course, is the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave some women the right to vote. At the same time, it's still very hard, as I mentioned, right? You're one of a few female CEOs. And if we were talking about women of color, that number would be even smaller. And we know that women today during this pandemic are struggling and are leaving the job market, frankly, more than their male counterparts. How do you think about addressing the barriers for women that they're facing, whether it's at home or on the job or in school or just generally in society. Where do you start with that? How do you think about tackling those barriers?
Well, maybe let me just start at a personal level. There's two things that I think are really important. One is helping each other as women. So as a woman, so I'm like so excited about Jane Fraser at Citi and Carol Tomei and Sonia Singhal, and we all know each other, right? And we're connecting with each other, and I think that's really important to continue those connections. The second thing is that as a leader, I try to talk very openly and transparently, both about my own family, which, by the way, I think men and women appreciate. And I had a lesson when I first became the CEO of our North America business. It was a Friday afternoon, and I had an all managing director call, and it was early in my tenure. So remember, I was switching from general counsel, trying to establish myself. And of course, my daughter's school decides on almost no notice that this is when we all had to show up in person to see their assignment that they've been working on for 6 weeks, but they could only tell us that week. And I had a choice, and I had to go. And so I had a choice at the beginning of the managing director call. Do I, say the excuse, which is like at Accenture, everything is about clients, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I have a client commitment. And instead, what I do naturally is I explained, by the way, I'm really sorry. This call's been on the book for 2 months, but here's what happened. And I'm going to leave early, and my COO is going to finish the call. I got so many emails. So these are from senior people, men and women, saying, thank you for being honest and for talking about things. And when we think about a lot of the barriers for women, which are particularly, they are being hit now with children not in school and so on, it's the lack of ability to talk about it. And I actually think COVID has helped. Certainly at Accenture, we talk more about it, we think more about it, because men and women are facing the challenges. And I'm hopeful that coming out of the crisis that there'll be much more sensitivity. But as leaders, we have to be willing to lead the way. And as a woman, I make no bones about it. I don't worry about, are people going to say, oh, she's talking about, certain things. Oh, typically, I'm like, no, these are the things that matter to our people. And I think we have to have that personal leadership. And then, of course, make, as we said in my video, both government and companies have to be thoughtful about their policies. And we're spending a lot of time on that now, given COVID, taking steps to help our families with children in particular.
You and Accenture have supported NPower for a very long time and in lots of ways, but there are some companies who are joining for the first time today. What would be your pitch to them about why they should do what you have been doing for a long time?
It's talent, talent, talent. I mean, NPower graduates are incredibly talented. And right now, and I know this because we're working on it every day, companies cannot find enough of the skills that they need. And not only that, but they need employees who are going to constantly learn. And almost by definition, all of the NPower graduates are individuals who value learning, right? Who are investing in learning. As a CEO, I have a quarterly learning agenda myself. We think it's absolutely critical to our success. And so not only will NPower graduates bring you the talent you need now, but they're the kind of employee that will help you be a continuously learning organization.
There are lots of NPower really alums who are joining from around the country. What would you say to them about how to think about this time? And I think every employee is stressed. Probably everybody maybe is just stressed. So what advice would you give to those NPower alums about how to think about navigating the careers now and into the future?
So 3 quick things. First, great communication is really, really important. So always working on your communication skills. It's one of the greatest things that will distinguish you. And my favorite book is called Weekend Language by Andy Craig. It's an incredible book. It's particularly well suited for those in technology skills. I use Andy myself. I was on a call with him today as a coach. So always be working on your communication skills. Second, always ask the question why. That's how a general counsel leads a technology company, right? I asked the question, why are things, and then I found friends. My former, our new chief strategy officer, when he was running our technology business in India for like 18 months, met with me every 2 weeks to teach me technology. So ask the question why, and, you know, and then find the friends and people that are going to help you learn the answers. And then finally, something my husband, a plaque he put on my our mud room, and it says, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Mm.
If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Don't think about risks. Think about, are you a little scared? Because if you are, it means you're pushing yourself. And I think about that every day as CEO, because, you know, we're doing things, and if we're too complacent, then I know I'm not pushing the company. But all of you, and I know, because, you know, my last story is, I was telling someone recently, there's this great company in California, the Irvine company, that gave me a scholarship when I was graduating from high school. And I said, I remember, because the night of that scholarship was the first time I'd ever been to a restaurant that had 3 forks. And my parents and I were so nervous, because like we didn't know like how we were going to manage it. And I remember my dad just saying, watch what everybody else does, and, I know that oftentimes, you're going into new companies, you're going into new areas. It's okay to be a little scared, because it means that your dreams really are big enough. So that's my last advice to you. And it's something to this day I think about every day.
I love it. It's a perfect way to end our conversation. What tremendous advice, not just for your alums, but for everybody. I wrote that down as well. Thank you, Julie, and congratulations to you. Thanks for sharing your perspective and taking the time for this conversation. And of course, a big congrats on this evening's recognition. Obviously, very, very well deserved.
Thank you. And thanks again for the honor. And thanks for everyone at NPower and the board and all the partners of NPower for all you do. And mostly thanks for all the NPower graduates. You're fantastic.